Hello BookTube and welcome to the greatest science fiction cult in the world. We are currently over 10,000 strong with no sign of slowing down. To my wonderful dedicated army of followers, thank you so much for the support. Welcome back. I love you all. I do want to throw out a spoiler warning for this review, but if you've seen the film, The Girl with All the Gifts, not gifts. If you've seen the film, the content in the book is pretty much identical, so you'll be absolutely fine. But if you haven't seen the film or read the book, I'm giving you an amber spoiler warning alert because there are a few things that I'll talk about that I would consider twists or reveals, and the whole idea of the book is really enjoyable if you don't know what's coming. So you have been warned. Go and read the book or watch the film, either or both, and then you can come back and watch the review. The Girl with All the Gifts. 2000. Why can't I say that word? Gifts. The Girl with All the Gifts. 2014. Mike Carey. I noticed in my research that the novel and the screenplay were developed at the same time. So now you know. If I had have known that before reading this, I would have expected the fact that this was written with one eye on an adaptation to mean some sort of compromise with the style, so that the book was more suited to becoming a film. Having now read the book and watched the film quite close to each other, even though they are very, very similar, I didn't detect the stink of studio interference. It didn't feel like a producer had stuck their nose in and said, we need this scene to be more dramatic so that when we come to film it, it's going to be more cinematic, more suited to being a film. They both stand on their own merits. In fact, they complement each other. This is exactly what happened to me with Annihilation a few weeks ago. I'd already seen the film, then I read the book, but it does affect your reading experience. No matter how much you want to go in completely blind, you can't because you've seen the film. So as I'm reading the book, Annihilation and The Girl with All the Gifts, I can see the actors, I picture what they look like, the characters, because they are exactly the same, because I have an image of them, and also the scenery. And I think that's a good thing. It fills in all of those blanks. If it's a good book, if it's a shit book, then it doesn't really matter. But it all works together here. I promise I'll try my best to not talk about the film because this is a book review. But you have to know that my expectations and the pacing of the book is affected because I know what's going to happen. I know when I'm reading that first act what's outside the bunker, and I know the destination of the book. I know what's going to happen in the story. I've spoiled myself. Spoiled, not soiled. The plot. It's actually very similar to World War Z. We are about 25 years after the zombie apocalypse. So most of humanity has been wiped out by a fungus that turns people into flesh-eating zombies, referred to as hungries. There are some small pockets of uninfected survivors, either roaming the wasteland as these savage Mad Max style gangs looking for food, weapons and fuel, you know the sort of thing, or there is a loose group of military and scientific people who are trying to establish some sort of normality. They're looking for a cure. They're looking for some sort of future. The book is set in southern England. It opens in a research facility on an old Air Force base. I've actually been to that real Air Force base. I was born just down the road. The whole book takes place just over there. On this base they hold, in the book, not in real life, in the book, on this base they hold a group of children who are infected with the zombie virus, but they don't show the usual traits of being a zombie. They still want to eat your face off when they get hungry, but other than that, they're just normal kids. And just when we get used to this horrible, horrible place, the base gets overwhelmed, attacked by the Mad Max people and a big group of Hungries. But a handful of people and Melanie, one of the hungry kids, manages to escape. I won't go through any more of the plot because you've probably read the book or seen the film, but the rest of the story is basically a road trip with this small group of characters trying to get to the big headquarters base, another facility about 80 or 100 miles across zombie and Mad Max gang infested landscape. It's simple but effective.
Hello, Moid of the Future here. Thank you for tuning into one of our archive videos, which was recorded many moons ago. Media Death Cult has evolved a lot over the years, so be sure to check out the more recent projects on the channel. You can support what we do here by grabbing yourself a t-shirt or a mug at the merch store, using Buy Me a Coffee, which is an online tipping service, or you can actually join the cult on Patreon and gain access to our exclusive Discord server, the best read-alongs in the galaxy, and the podcast, Radio Death Cult. Links to all that good stuff in the description of this video. Thank you so much. Peace!
I want to address the writing style because I think I'm too stupid to explain what the perspective is, how exactly this is written. I'm pretty sure it's third person because we are being told what's happening in the book, but not directly through someone's point of view. It's from different characters, but it sometimes feels like it is from Melanie's point of view because if she can't see what's behind a door or she doesn't understand something, then we get that feeling as well. But then we do find out what's on the other side of the door and what's happening away from Melanie because we get other people's perspectives as well. So I would love for someone to explain how that's done and what the technical term is. Third person restrictive or a bit of first and third person. Let me know in the comments if you know what you're talking about because I couldn't quite get a grip of it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter because I actually stopped worrying about that and trying to be smart and figure it out because I absolutely loved it. Mainly because Melanie has a very naive understanding of the world around her because I think she's lived in this facility her whole life or since she was a baby, so all of her memories are from inside this enclosure. To set the scene, even though these kids are very likely to be tested on, killed at some point, they're still looked after to a certain extent. They're still cared for. They're still educated by a teacher called Miss Justinu. She sees them as a real class of kids, not just the experimental fodder that they really are. So the dark reality of what's really going on in this book butts up against that naive sense of wonder. Miss Justinu will be teaching the class like it's an ordinary thing. She'll be talking about Greek mythology or history or flowers, but then the soldiers come in and monitor the kids at gunpoint, terrified of what they're capable of. The juxtaposition of Melanie's strong reaction to the world around her and the other characters and the sheer horror of the situation is transferred to the reader through these pages because of that perspective thing. It's all in the writing and not so much the action of the characters, and that helps make the first act of this book one of the most compelling things that I've read in a very long time. It really locks you in. I think it's also because it hits so many simple notes. A bunker full of prison cells and lining up a classroom of kids all strapped into wheelchairs is so easy to visualise. And because this is all that Melanie has ever known, she describes it to us in minute detail. But we also understand quite quickly that this isn't an exploitation story. It's just not a book about horrific things and punishing children, because Miss Justinu, the teacher, has a heart of gold, and we know that the real story is happening outside of the bunker. Sorry to mention the film, but just like in the film, the pacing of the changing of the scenery, the timing of the opening up of the story is perfect. I absolutely love the first act, but I'm not sure I would want to spend a whole book in this horrible bunker. I love the end of the world, so let's get outside and have a look at it. What happens next is a very tense road trip, well, until the car breaks down and then they have to carry on foot for a few days. It feels a lot like The Road or The Last of Us video game. There's not many zombies around. In fact, the marauding Mad Max type seem to be the bigger threat. The tone of the book has shifted completely. That trick of the novel being a voyage of discovery for Melanie is still there. We still get that unique perspective, but it's so much more about the dynamic between all the characters. It really helps that it's a really tight group as well. It's just 4 adults and Melanie, so I knew who everyone was, what they were doing, where they were, where we were going, what the hell was going on. And I find that oddly comforting. You really do feel part of the story, and that became the most accomplished, my favourite, the best part of the book for me. The way that all the characters were different from each other and how natural the interactions between them were. It's taken this extreme situation with the very highest consequences at stake, the future of the human race, and having all of these characters play their part in that mission, but they also have their own very complicated personalities. Sergeant Parks is the assumed leader. He's a soldier. He's the one that has the skill to get everyone to safety, to complete the mission. But just a cold, normal grunt wouldn't be that interesting to read about. So he is more interesting when the other non-military people put pressure on him and question him. Private Gallagher, on the other hand, he's only about 20 years old, so he was born after the apocalypse has already happened. He was born into this world of zombies and shit and destruction. I really like that distance. That's excellent writing, because not everybody has the same sense of loss. Caroline Cordwell is the scientist on the brink of a breakthrough. This is where most of the conflict of the book comes from. Maybe she's right. Maybe you do have to cut up some children to save the world, but you don't have to have such a cold bedside manner while you're doing it. Helen Justinu, the teacher, I suppose she acts as the voice of reason in the book. She sees Melanie as a child, not just a zombie, or certainly not something that you can just experiment on. She's probably wrong, but we do end up rooting for her. And at the centre of it all is Melanie, the girl with all the gifts. Such a great character. She is everything to this book. She's now the MacGuffin of this story. She is precious cargo because she may be the only child with this mutation left in the world. So she could be the saviour of humanity. I don't think she's supposed to be painted as this Jesus figure. I'll get onto that in a minute. But there may not be a facility for us to go to. Things may be a lot worse than we first thought. But obviously she is a hungry, and every now and again she will be overwhelmed with the desire to eat flesh. And if you get too close, she will rip your neck out. And it's just so heartbreaking to watch this innocent little girl who wants to help the group achieve their mission discover who she actually is. Because I suppose up until now she's been fed some meat and she hasn't been allowed to get to people. And now she kind of loves the people around her, especially Helen Justinu, but she also realises that she will kill her if she has to. So she's this innocent but extremely deadly weapon with a conscience. Now that is a deep character. So all these different agendas and desires and instincts all come together, and somehow they have to find a way to work together to achieve this mission, to get to safety. And these characters develop as the book goes on. And once again, just like I said in my World War Z review, this is a genre that I'm not that fond of. It's boring zombies, but it's a perfect backdrop for human drama. But there's still a story going on. There is a plot of this group trying to reach the safety of this other military base. But we never actually get there because the book twists again for a third time. I'm just so happy that this happened. The middle part of the book is about the group dynamic, but I could feel M.R. Carey slowly pulling us back towards the idea of the virus. If we predictably lose a couple of characters along the way, but ultimately we reach the destination and we get to this base, it's a happy ending. Maybe not so happy for Melanie, but it's an ending. It did need some sort of twist to stick the landing. So Carey delivers this morally ambiguous death warrant to humankind, but it's a logical future for some sort of life on the planet. I absolutely loved it. So the world was doomed anyway. There is no cure, and there's not enough organised, uninfected people to wipe out the zombies once and for all. But nature has found a way to produce Melanie and others like her. She is the future of humanity. Intelligent zombies. Melanie emerges as this Pandora character, the girl with all the gifts. Is she the angel of death, or is she the saviour? She starts the chain reaction that infects the whole of the planet, but in doing so she does save humanity, although we will be horrifically different from now on. In conclusion, somehow this book started off grabbing me with the plot and the setting, then that didn't really matter and it all became about the characters in the middle, and then the plot, the storyline, came back fighting for the finale. That's a very rare thing, to nail both sides of a novel, and I really love the writing style. And even though I knew how it was going to end, I was very satisfied. A score for The Girl with All the Gifts. I'm feeling quite an easy 9. The question is, would it be a 10 if I hadn't have watched the film? So if the ending was a surprise to me, if the whole thing was unknown? I think maybe, probably. It's my kind of book. Did you love The Girl with All the Gifts? God, that's a mouthful to say. Did you hate The Girl with All the Gifts? Or are you somewhere here in the middle with The Girl with All the Gifts? Let us know in the comments, please.